you guys have used Curipod, could you put that in the chat? If you haven't used Curipod, would you put that in the chat as well? That kind of, no, it's really not a big deal. It's Saturday. We're all doing our best over here. I'm on like my third cup of coffee. Never used. Okay, perfect. I love that we're getting so much participation. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Brand new. Love it. Okay, this is exciting. So my last session was more of a general overview. If you get super excited about Curipod, I'm happy to do, I'm going to be at Secondary Best Practices next Wednesday. So if you're at the Secondary Best Practices PD, please come to one of my sessions then as well. This is going to be really focused on helping your ELL and EB students in the classroom. And we're going to also look at TELPAS test prep. My next session will be more STAR focused. So I'm so excited you guys are here. We have more people joining. My name is Danielle. I am a former teacher, taught for over 10 years. I actually am, my degree is in early childhood education with a specialty certification. And back then it was ESL, now it's ELL. And so have a lot of training on that, and also taught in Honduras for 2 years. And then I actually taught in the Valley. So I was at Port Isabel, I was at Tarpon, and then I was in Brownsville, and then I was in Weslaco. So kind of moved around a little bit, trying to change things up, and taught from all the way from mostly 3rd grade to 12th grade, but spent a lot of time 4th grade math science. And I'm a true believer in Curipod. I wish I had something like this. So I'm excited to show you guys how this could be used to support every student in your classroom. And lots of people have not used this. So if you decide you want to play around while we're also going through this, go to curipod.com. You can create an account right now in a separate tab. I'm not going to hold you back. You can create a free account, and you can create a lesson there, but I'm gonna go ahead and start our lesson so you can see. So right now you're in the student view and I'm in the teacher view. And that's important because I want you guys to have that experience as a student. What do you see on your side? How does it feel? And the teacher is always at the driver's seat in a Curipod lesson. So these lessons are designed to be highly interactive and customizable and student-centered. So the teacher's at the driver's seat, the student is in mind throughout the entire lesson. You're going to notice that every lesson that's created in Curipod, has activities throughout. There should never be more than a couple minutes of you speaking before you're asking for engagement, checking for understanding, or doing some type of assessment to see where your students are at. And that is incredibly important. So we're going to jump in here. How can we use tools and specifically Curipod to help your students who are language learners? I know in FAR, you guys probably pretty much work with Spanish speakers, but in areas like McAllen, they have multiple languages that they're supporting, and you might find the same. Demographics sometimes change. So our objective, every Curipod lesson starts with an objective. So you will explain 3 Curipod features for inclusive, engaging language activities and outline 1 way to use them in your own classroom. I think it's so important that you know what you're going to get out of this session. You're here on a Saturday, this should be useful. I'm not going to waste an hour of your time on a Saturday. I really want this to be something that you find truly impactful and useful for this upcoming year. So we're going to start off with a hook. Every Curipod lesson starts off with a hook, but we're focused on this content. So more than 80 languages are spoken by students in Texas public schools. I don't know if you knew that. I don't think I realized that. Yet many bilingual teens say they rarely see their heritage languages used in class digital tools. I think that's important because that's very much like you might see it in the classroom, but not necessarily reflected in the resources that we're using. So how would it feel if a classroom app let your whole class switch from English and Spanish on every slide? How would that feel for your students? I want you to throw your answer in. So you should see something that pops up on your screen where you can answer. And I can see your answers coming in. So you can see here I have 1 response. But in Curipod, you also have a moderation tool. I don't want to catch you off guard because I can see everyone who's logged in when I click open moderation tool. If you decide to use Curipod, moderation tool is your best friend for ensuring classroom participation and classroom management. So I'm going to open my moderation tool to see who is responding. And that's more so not to call anyone out, but just to make sure I'm giving enough time. I can adjust the time to make sure everyone has an opportunity to respond. I can also provide help. So if I see one student isn't responding, I can say, hey, I see that Maria, you're not responding yet. Do you need help? Do you need assistance? So, you know, a lot of different ways to use that moderation tool, but it's there as a teacher support and classroom management tool to ensure that everyone is being supported. Melissa, that would be awesome. I teach Spanish for monolanguage students. Oh, I love that Spanish one. You can create Spanish lessons inside Curipod as well. You can create lessons on any subject for any grade level, including language learning lessons. So thanks for sharing, Melissa. I love that. I'm going to go ahead, since we got a little late, so I just want to make sure we have time for everything today. So I'm going to give you 20 more seconds. As a teacher, you're always in control, so I can end the activity early or I can add time. Just depends. You'll notice that when you're doing Curipod, a Curipod lesson, your students are going to ask for more time to write. And that's really something that's nuanced in Curipod, because I feel like a lot of times it's like pulling teeth to get students to write. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end activity. Sorry if I cut you off. But I want to hear what you guys see. We're going to vote. So inside Curipod, you can vote on each other's responses. This is a way to have everyone's voices heard in a safe manner. So you can imagine that student who doesn't usually participate, they feel more safe. They're putting in their responses anonymously. No one knows who it was. So if they misspell something or they don't pronounce something quite exactly on par, this is a way for their voice to be heard and seen by all their peers in a safe way. So I remember being in Honduras, it was really challenging for me, even though I had some background in Spanish. I remember multiple times messing up words and people laughing at me. And it made me extremely embarrassed to talk to people, and I had to really overcome a fear. And I was an adult, not even a student. So you can imagine how young ones feel when they're trying a new language, and it can be really stressful when their peers are watching them. All right, so it will make everyone feel included. Yes, I love that. That's a great feature. It would help with language acquisition. It will be a great tool for our bilingual students. I love that. Yes. Encouraged to continue without leaving anyone behind. So great. Phenomenal. Students will feel validated. Love that. I think it would. That would be fantastic. Like the teachers, Charlie Brown. Love it. Okay, so these are great. And this is a great way to have a class discussion about some of these answers that are submitted. Okay, so let's dive in. Curipod Basics. So it's a web-based platform, as you can tell. Students can join in with a pin. We don't roster students, so you can get going with Curipod right away. We don't collect student data. There's all different types of ways for students to interact in a lesson by design. We want students, everyone, to feel included. That includes word walls. So that's more simple for your students who are picking up language, drawings. How nice is it for a student to have a break from having to use maybe English or Spanish, and now they can draw, and it kind of like lets their brain relax for a second and they can express themselves in a different manner. Everyone gets a voice. It's so incredibly difficult to do that. I had popsicle sticks in my classroom, and I would just draw one to have a student participate. That only allows one student to participate in my lesson at a time. Now every voice can be heard. And teachers have reports at the end. So that's also really important, that you can have something to look back on data to inform who needs extra support. And you'll notice I created this lesson in Curipod. I just put my learning objective. This slide is the slide it built for me. And I just put in the description of my topic today. It even will help you identify some vocabulary words to support your students. Okay, so in one or two ways, what makes a lesson feel inclusive and interactive to you? So right now we're just building knowledge, and then I'm going to show you how this works in Curipod, because I'm sure you're wondering, okay, does this actually, can this work? It does, and I will show you how everything works, but I still want to get some engagement, see what you guys are thinking, what's most important and top of mind. So in one or two words, what makes a lesson feel inclusive and interactive? This is going to create a word cloud. So just add one word, two words. It's unlimited responses, so you can put as many as you'd like. Right now, I see we have 0. We have 3. Sometimes they'll jump. Get as many on there. Some great words. Validated, treasured. I love that word, treasured. Student-centered. Movable pieces. Love it. Loved. That's a great one. 20 more seconds. Think deep. What are some other ways that students, what makes a lesson feel inclusive and interactive? Visuals, engagement. Love it. All right. So right now I can actually, it's not going to show the word cloud yet. In my moderation tool, I can see all those responses. If someone accidentally puts something that's inappropriate, I can look at it and dismiss it before it shows up on my board. So it's never just going to show up everything. I want to be that very clear. Some of you guys probably teach some students that might get like a little bit rowdy. That's okay. Or if something's like, just completely inappropriate, you can dismiss it in the moderation tool and it won't show up on this board. All right. Okay. So here we go. And everything was kind of equal. I saw a couple of engagements. People put engagement, which I love. And I think movable pieces, I love that. So that helps students really feel engaged too. All right. So word cloud. So we just did a word cloud, and I think that's important because it's really revealing prior knowledge. You can also allow for multiple languages to be used in a word cloud, right? Students can write in Spanish. Students can write in Chinese. It's up to you on how you want to support them, but it can be a beautiful word cloud of multiple languages. Polling, that's also a really great way to spark discussion, but also to hear student voices in a simple way for students to be assessed without language being a barrier for them. Okay, which feature visualizes class vocabulary instantly? So would it be a word cloud? Would it be a live poll? So what might you use? This is my check for understanding. So did you kind of understand what we just talked about? How would you, this could be different. There could be all different types of answers here. And there's not necessarily one right way. But I'm curious to see what you guys think, what visualizes class vocabulary. If you have some students joining in your class late, notice that you can always go to Curie.live, use the pen, or you can open this up and they could highlight it a little bit bigger here for them. All right. So, oh gosh. So everyone kind of had, it was even across the board. I love that. So every one of you thought a little bit differently. All of these can visualize class vocabulary. So love it. Okay. So cooperative learning. Inside every Curipod lesson, we have cooperative learning for language growth. So think pair share, number heads together, 4 corners. These are all built inside to every Curipod lesson. So now imagine a student, instead of having to talk in front of their entire class, I'm just talking to the partner next to me. You could set this up strategically where you're grouping students together at the same level or at different levels, so that way they can get that support they need. But these are sprinkled in through every single Curipod lesson. By design, our curriculum team ensures the structure of every lesson has best pedagogical practices in place, and that includes these offline activities where students are learning together and with you off of a screen. Learning happens when talking happens, right? We can't build language skills without using our voices. How would you use four corners with Curipod? Melissa, great question. So in Curipod, you would have an activity. So everyone's in class, you're driving the lesson, four corners activity comes up. You know that the four corners activity is coming up because you probably previewed the lesson before you taught it. And it will show, okay, everybody, these are the four corners. This is what's at each corner. Everyone would stand up. You will have labeled those corners and they would go to their corners. It's an offline activity. So the activity is not happening on the screen. It's happening in the classroom. You're moderating and leading that activity. They're just not sitting at their desk. So that's a really great question. Same with the Think, Pair, Share. They're not typing anything. You're really stopping this activity like we are right now, and you're turning and talking to each other. So there's going to be a few different activities. There are even, like in our science lessons, there might be a journaling activity in an actual journal. So not everything happens in Curipod. And we believe we do that by design because we truly believe that not everything can happen on a screen for the best learning to happen. All right, sketch a quick symbol showing how the draw tool can reveal a student's understanding without using text. That's kind of a very kind of like really intricate question there, but I want you to think about a symbol, and this is really for you to practice the drawing tool so you can see the drawing tool, but how can it reveal a student's understanding without them using like words, right? So what might show that? And if you are like, Danielle, I have no idea, I don't know what you're asking me, that's okay too. Just play with the drawing tool and see how it feels. This is also for you to practice seeing the student side of Curipod, because if you do decide to use this in your class, which I hope you do, you have that experience already, and you could walk away feeling very knowledgeable about what students are going to experience in Curipod. So just play around. You can see that you can add that in, or please answer the question because I'm really curious about what you guys, what symbol do you feel like would reveal a student's understanding without words? All right, some good drawings happening. I love it. I'm going to give you 50 more seconds. I'm actually going to end this a little bit early, so we have enough time to play with TELPAS test prep. Good, 8 drawings, get in there, draw away, have fun. You can draw anything you'd like. If you don't want to keep on par, it's okay. This isn't being graded. Can the teacher side of Curipod be managed through an iPad? Yes, great question, Imena. Okay, we're going to, when you open settings right here, open moderation. If you're talking specifically about a moderation tool, this can be opened on any device. Let me do this. And you can just scan the QR code here on your phone. Or if you're like me and you're driving the lesson, yes, this is all web-based. So if you're talking about actually like what I'm doing right here, pushing, like going through each slide, you'll just go to curipod.com and log in. So this is not an app, so you can open it on any device that has the internet. It's web-based. Great question. All right, I'm going to end this activity. And y'all are going to vote on each other's drawings. What's your favorite drawing? So it doesn't have to be related to the topic. That's okay. It's Saturday. We can have some fun. Getting our votes in. So voting is a way for everyone to peer review each other in an anonymous, safe way. So you're seeing 2 answers at a time by design. It's not comparing everyone across the board. You're just looking at 2 and comparing them, and then there'll be a podium at the end. So you'll see everybody's response one time. And that allows you to quickly have a peer review. So instead of doing something like a carousel where you have to put stuff up around the room and everyone walks around and it takes a lot of time, the voting tool is a great way to do peer review quickly and anonymously, and students love it. It really encourages students to exceed expectations on the work they're producing when they know their peers are going to be looking. So now we see the results. What I love about this is we can look at everyone's drawings here, and then we can click on them and have a great classroom discussion. Why was this y'all's favorite? Tell me a little bit more about what you meant by this drawing. Gets them to the light bulb moment. Love it. Okay. So this is a way that you can design a warm-up. I'm just going to kind of review over this a little bit. This is how our lessons are designed. So you actually don't have, like when you're thinking of Curipod, you can think about these activities and you can translate them, which I'm going to show you. You can link the activity to students' lived experiences and heritage topics to foster relevance. And when you build a lesson, I'll show you what that looks like. You can scaffold languages. So that's really important as well. When you're building up that vocabulary that you're providing that assistant, and you can use Curipod to do that. And then engagement hook. A lot of these things are going to naturally happen in a Curipod lesson because when a lesson is designed in Curipod automatically, it's going to have these best practices in place for you. All right. So I wanted to show you an example of a slide I translated. So you're going to have two options here on your screen, depending on who you teach and your students. You can test out both if you want to. I'm going to start an activity, and you can you'll be able to, if we do it in Spanish, you'll be able to see that you can write in Spanish and receive feedback in Spanish. So this is the same activity, but I asked Curipod to translate it, and I have it in Spanish, and I have it in English. I'm going to let you guys put in the chat. Would you guys like to test the Spanish? Let's do both. We can test the Spanish feedback and the English feedback, or is there one that you prefer more than the other? If you want to put in the chat, I'll let you guys decide if you want to test Spanish or English or both. Give you guys a minute. I'm going to look and see what you guys would like to do. So we're going to do this activity. Would you guys like to do both? Both. Okay, let's do both. So I'm going to go with the first one. I love it. Okay, so let's do this in Spanish. So we're going to start off with the Spanish activity here. And so now on your screen, you're answering this question. You can answer it in Spanish. Your feedback should come in Spanish too. And I'm just going to give you a minute. I'm going to wait for you guys to get some writing done here. I need to reopen my moderation tool to make sure everyone's writing. And as you can see, this is a way to connect students to your local area. I want to point this out. When I generated this lesson, I just asked it to make it relevant to students who are living in the Rio Grande Valley area. And this is an automatic activity that it created for me. I did not create this. I did not come up with this. I'm not that smart. So Curipod does have some really awesome activities. And the more you put into a Curipod lesson when you're trying to generate, the more specific you are, the more you're going to get out of it. And so you can get some really phenomenal activities like this one. And we have 5 people participating. I'd love to see a few more. And if you have some students, well, students have a concurrent access to the English side. You could never work ahead of a teacher, Melissa. You can only stay where they are at. You can always go backwards. So typically when we make a bilingual lesson, Spanish comes first, then English. Typically, it's because we're teaching in English in a bilingual classroom or like a general ed classroom, and we're trying to support students whose second language is English. So the teacher's teaching in English, so the support slide in their language will be behind it, so they can actually move back to their language that they need support in. You could also make this slide bilingual, so it's all on one slide. It depends on your objective in Curipod. I had it make it 2 separate slides, but you can create it as one slide as well if that's more useful. All right, I'm going to end this activity. The feedback is going to come on my side. I can look over the feedback and review it, or I can directly give it to you. So if you directly give it, it's going to post up here. And I'm going to just pull up this one since it's short. And you're going to see it looked like it was a little bit incomplete. I'm not going to pretend like my Spanish is that great, but you'll be able to read through it and make sure that you understand that feedback. And this person wrote in English, so they're still going to be asked to, hey, you're going to get your feedback in Spanish because this one is in Spanish. So if you're teaching like a Spanish class and you're trying to encourage people to use Spanish, this is a great way to do it. Can we bring it to a kindergarten level? Great question. Yes, I designed this lesson for 12th and adults when I generated this lesson. When you generate a lesson in Curipod, you put in the grade level that you are supporting, and it will align to that grade level. So you'll put kinder, there'll be more drawing activities, more polling activities, and short like word walls and things like that. In a kinder lesson, there won't be this type of writing or reading involved. So what did you guys think about your feedback? We saw some of it in Spanish. Can you write that in the chat? What did you think? I'm curious, or if you want to come off mute. What did you guys think about the feedback? And I'll let you guys start working on the English one. Interactive, love it. Anyone not agree with their feedback and was like, nah, that's okay too. I'm curious. Report check-in team, 29 minutes left. Thank you, facilitator. All right, we're gonna have like a minute. Love that it was positive no matter what the student responses was. Yes. I'm not sure what CIF means. So Sanwana, if you want to tell me what that means. Encourage as well. I love the question at the end, to promote curiosity, learning center. Yeah, love it.
CIF is strategies, instructional strategies. It's a common instructional framework for us. So we follow that.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. All right. We have some people doing the English one. What I'm going to do is give you about 20 more seconds. I want to make sure we get to TELPAS too. Some people write in Spanish. And I'm going to end this activity in 10 seconds. All right. So here we have feedback. And this one's going to be in English. Oh, I should have just pressed this one here. There we go. Okay. So we have obviously a little bit more short, which is fine. I also recognize, did this not generate our feedback? Oh no. Well, sometimes this happens. If this happens to you, then this would be a time that you can, okay, there we go. This one has feedback. Did it not give feedback? Whose question is this? Do you see feedback on your end? and it's just not showing me? Do you want to come off? Okay, we'll focus on this one. But hopefully everyone got feedback. If a bug ever happens, you can always, we have a support channel, and you guys, we have people on support from 8 to 4 all the time. So if something comes up like that, you just chat with us and we'll help you out. Okay, so here you got feedback in English and making sure, a bit unsure about how to approach this question, and that's perfectly okay. So very friendly and hoping students to participate, but also just notice it's longer. It's longer because this is designed for 12th grader and above. So that's why it's so long. All right. What I want, we're going to stop right here and we are going to, well, let's do this really quick. In one clear sentence, state the single most important insight you learned about leveraging Curipod to create culturally inclusive and language-rich activities for ELL and bilingual students. And then after this, we're going to go into TELPAS. So I'm curious right now what you're taking away from this. I'm checking for your understanding, seeing if I missed anything. And then we're going to jump into the TELPAS section. So please, please, please put in your answer. It doesn't have to be one clear sentence, but what's the most important thing? I am going to be on Wednesday at your secondary best practices. This will also help me highlight any areas that you guys point out here. Next week, it will inform how I present next week too, to just give me ideas of what you guys are finding that's really resonating with your students, what you think will resonate. I want to make sure I'm making things relevant for you guys and want to make every presentation as impactful as possible, so that way you guys are getting the most out of every single session when you join a Curipod session. So thank you so much for your responses here. I'm just super curious what's resonating, what you think will work. So, and if you feel like nothing's relevant, you can tell me that too. Will not hurt my feelings. Or if you're like, hey, Danielle, I think this would be better, you can put that there too, but just really trying to figure out what you feel like popped out to you that would make this would work for your ELL and bilingual students. All right, just a few more seconds, get them in. Thank you so much for these responses. You guys are awesome. I know it's Saturday. I hope you're getting something out of this session. And if you haven't started playing with your Curipod account yet, I recommend opening a tab right now, going to curipod.com. And I'm going to put that here in the chat. Okay. We'll start voting. If you guys want to vote on top takeaways, let's do that really quick. You guys can see what other people wrote. I think it's always important to kind of see what other people are thinking too. It's important for your students to see that. It's important for us as adult learners to see that as well. You may notice someone say something and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You may also not agree with everybody, and that's okay too. The point is that we're learning together, and we are very focused on that in Curipod, is every voice should be heard, and no matter what language you speak or what your ideas or thoughts are, it's important that everyone has that opportunity to share and be listened to. A few more seconds. Again, you have this timer here. You're in control of it. You can add more time, take or end it early. You're always at the driver's seat here. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Transforming lessons into inclusive language spaces where bilingual identities are celebrated. Wow, that's really well written. Did someone use AI to do that? You're a really good writer, which I am very impressed with how well that was expressed. The most important insight I learned is that Curipod can be leveraged to design interactive, oh wow, culturally relevant lessons. Wow, that's impressive as well too. Students feel included. Not so reluctant. Feedback is really great and clarify, understand. I love that too. Okay. So this is another example of how you might utilize Curipod to do something offline. So stop and jot. And then we are going to not do this activity. We're going to explore TELPAS. So sometimes you realize you put too much stuff in a lesson, and that's okay. So this is the first time I've presented on this particular content. So I'm going to skip this because I think we've gotten some of the feedback already. You guys tested that, and I really want you guys to see TELPAS. So we're going to explore TELPAS test prep. I'm going to go to curipod.com here. If you haven't gone to curipod.com yet, please go there. You can create a free account. You unfortunately won't have access to TELPAS test prep. If you decide that you want to use TELPAS test prep, you definitely can. There's a few different ways you can use Curipod. And one way is by creating that lesson. So I know someone had mentioned, how do you do this for kinder? You would literally type in here, kinder lesson. I'll put kinder lesson about numbers 1 through 10. And you can copy and paste your learning objective here. You can tie it to the TEKS. And then when you generate that lesson, it's going to ask you questions to drill it down and make sure that it is specifically grabbing your learning objective and aligning to the TEK and ensuring that it's going to create a lesson that's impactful for you. So that's how you generate a lesson inside Curipod. Here is our test prep materials here. So you can click test prep. I also want to point out this use my materials. So use my materials. This is an area where you can upload your slide decks here. You can choose any language. So if you want this to be a Spanish lesson, or if you want it English, you can leave it English and then translate it after it's created. So here I might upload from my Google Drive. I have a presentation. I'm going to upload it here. I'm going to align it to my grade level. I'm going to align it to my standard. And it's not going to change the content. What it's going to do is it's going to add in those interactive activities, those checks for understandings, a hook, an assessment in there where students can get feedback and grow in your class period. So that's where you can utilize Curipod with current curriculum. But today we're focused on TELPAS. So we're going to go test prep. My example of STAR testing is going to happen at the next session. So if you're interested in the STAR test prep, please join that session. I'm going to click TELPAS. And then we can pick which one we want to focus on. So we have a few different ways, few different type of assessments that we can utilize for TELPAS test prep. This is not going to, if you're wondering, does this do the listening or the speaking portions? No, not yet. We've thought about it, and that might be something we move forward with. But right now, this is the written response for TELPAS, what students will be practicing. I'm going to click next. And here is where you're going to utilize AI to make this something that is related to your students. So you can make this lesson about anything. And we're going to do back to school at 5 and 1. I see. You can put it in your own school too. We can pick the grade level that we're supporting here. I'm going to do 4th. And we're going to generate. So what this is doing, it's going to generate a TELPAS test prep. It's going to align it to the TA rubric. That is incredibly important. This rubric is already built in here, and it is aligned to the TA rubric. You're not creating the rubric. You're not having to put it in here. The work is done for you. That's to ensure that everything is aligned and that your students are having the same experience. There's no bias in this grading. This is something that allows you to get that score and feedback immediately to your students. So here is our lesson. I think it's important here. We talked about translating slides. AI is always here, so you can continue to edit your lesson For TELPAS test prep, I don't think this is that important, but in a regular lesson, you may want to translate a slide to Spanish. You may want to do that here. You may want to add an exit ticket, or you can like change the colors to blue and it will change your colors. So this is here for you to edit if you like. You can also click manual edit as well. Just know that you're still in the driver's seat of your lessons. So just because it's created here for you doesn't mean it's set in stone. You can edit any of this content. It is just like a PowerPoint. So here we're gonna, so I just changed everything to blue for me. So here we're going to start with a rubric. So for STAR, test prep, TELPAS, and race, a lesson always starts with the rubric because we're specifically coaching the students on being successful in this assessment. It is important for students to understand what they're being graded on. So here, that's the rubric. Now we're going to scaffold them into being successful in this assessment. That is incredibly important in any lesson you do, right? This is built inside Curipod. So Maria arrives in the classroom and sets her backpack down. All right. So we're going to give them, they're going to start writing, start getting some language here. What is happening in this picture? Write 3 sentences. What are they doing? Again, we're going to get a word cloud. Name an item that you see in the image, getting them building up some of their language. And then we're going to go into the assessment piece. Okay, so to make this a little bit more complicated, I'm going to launch this lesson so you guys can test out this assessment and you guys can see the score and the feedback that the students are going to be receiving. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to go into preview. So that way, if you aren't joining in this lesson to test it, you can still see the feedback here. So if you would like to join in on our TELPAS lesson, please go open up a separate tab, go to Curie.live, or you can click this link. I'm putting the link in the chat. But the more the better, because honestly, it's nice to see a variety of feedback given to students and the scoring. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so for time's sake, I'm going to launch this. If you're still wanting to join, use that link, or you can see here, Curie.live, and there's the pin. It's always at the top of the screen. I clicked preview, so this is a really great way for you to test out a lesson if you want to test a lesson. I love doing it like this. This is the student screen. This is the teacher screen. I can see my slides here. So if I'm a student and I want to preview slides, I can have my materials on the left, or if I just want a big screen, I click focus. We're going to move ahead, and then you can see here, if I'm on my slides, I can't jump ahead of the student, the teacher. I can only go backwards. And so if you're making anything bilingual, your students can always go back and preview in their language, but they can never jump ahead. So we're going to skip these particular because these are scaffolding. I'm not going to scaffold you guys into the assessment. We're just going to go into this assessment. So here's an opportunity to start writing. Think about your first day back to school at FAR San Juan ISD. What did you see and hear? How did you feel? Write about a memorable moment from that day. Include who was there, what happened, and how it made you feel. Look at the pictures. Use the pictures to write a story. Your story should have a beginning, middle, and an end. Write about each picture in order. So you have a few options here. You can write from the lens of one of your students and see what their feedback might be. You can write just whatever you'd like. But I always like to test out to see like what my students would get back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to focus mode here so you guys can see what I'm doing. But hopefully you guys are writing. I see I got a couple responses. You can see how many responses I'm getting here is 2. I don't have my moderation tool open, so I'm not looking at that, but because I'm going to write here for you guys too. I wrote a few words. Hopefully you guys are getting there. I'm going to give you about 1 more minute to write. I have 8 responses. You can write anything here just to get a response and test it out. And then I'll share everyone's feedback too, so you guys can see that. I'm going to submit mine. Okay, about 10 more seconds. I'm actually going to open my moderation tool to see if anyone else is writing. I don't want to cut anyone off. So also moderation tool. I see someone used emojis. That's great. You guys are prolific for 4th graders over here. I like it. All right. Okay. Miss Solis, let's see. Okay, everyone's still writing. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. Normally, obviously, we'd give students a little bit longer. And we're going to end activity. And I'm going to generate your feedback here. So keep in mind this feedback, you should see your feedback on your screen. You mentioned your feelings about the first day of school, which is a great start to sharing your experience. I got a 1 for vocabulary, a 1 for usage, and a 1 for completeness. I think that's important because to improve your score, add more details of what you saw and heard on your first day of school. Describe what happened with your brother and playing ball. This will help create a clearer picture of your experience. I'm going to also pick someone who wrote something short. I don't like the cafeteria food. Okay, so I love that. So your response starts with an interesting opinion about the cafeteria food. So I love that. Try to write about your day at school starting from when you arrived. Include details about where you were, who you're with. This will help create a story. So you can see, a variety of feedback. I think what's important to note here is all of a sudden, every student in your activity or in your class got instant feedback and a score aligned to the rubric. That is literally impossible to do in that short time frame without the usage of a tool like AI to give that feedback. Also note that you can edit any of this feedback that's given to students. I think that's important to note because sometimes you may want to control that feedback and change it up. Totally fine. You are in the driver's seat. And I'm curious, can you gear it towards high school students? Of course, Melissa, great question. When I generated this lesson, I selected 4th grade. You can select any grade level there on the drop down when you went to create the lesson. So great question. And then the students will be asked to reflect on their feedback. That's also really important. Do they really understand the feedback or not? This is where you're going to check for understanding. Every single lesson in Curipod has this when feedback is given, because again, you don't know if a student really understood the feedback unless you check. I always use this analogy. I used it in my last session. If I'm a coach, because I was a coach for a little while, and I'm watching someone do a jump shot, if I'm going to give them feedback, I'm not going to wait 2 days. I need to do it in that moment. But if I told them to correct something like put your elbow in, and I walked away, I don't know if they understand what I meant. I don't know if they're going to utilize it. I need to make sure that they understand the feedback and can utilize it. And so in Curipod, you're always going to ask for a check for understanding of your feedback. And then you're going to have an opportunity to rewrite and try again and use that feedback. Here is where you're going to see a tremendous amount of growth with your students and really see how they're performing throughout the year. And then at the end of every lesson, you're going to get a report to show where your students need a little extra support, where your students are doing well, and that will allow you to have early intervention for your students or really target your next lesson to help them grow. It's very difficult to do that, and if you're not able to do that every week with a student, students can get left behind really easily. Our goal at Curipod is to help you grow your student in every learning objective, including building their language. So I'm going to exit this preview here, and I'm going to go back out. And again, Melissa, I just want to show you one more time so you know when you go to test prep and you go to TELPAS and you click whatever question type you'd like, this is the drop down for your grade levels here. Okay, so any grade level there. So I'm going to go back out, and I'm going to jump back to our original presentation here. If you guys aren't joined in still, please join back in, because I'm going to ask for questions and comments, feedback, because this is the first time I've actually presented on this topic. I don't usually get an opportunity to present specifically on TELPAS and ELL, supporting ELL and bilingual learners. So I really want to hear your feedback. If you think that I could have improved something, or if something really resonated with you, please share that, so that way I can build on that, change it, and make it something that's beneficial as I present more content like this. I will be at the Secondary Best Practices PD next Wednesday. If you guys are there, please come to one of the sessions. I'd love to hear it. Meet you in person. Claudia Garcia will be with me. She was in my last session, but she had to hop off. She couldn't do this session. But she is a teacher out of Brownsville that is now working at Curipod, and so she can also share. I'm going to give it one more minute in case, because I didn't see a lot. I want you guys to have more time to add feedback. So again, if you logged out of the lesson, you can join back in Curie.live with this pen and put your feedback. I would really appreciate your feedback here. So I see one person, but please, anything positive, negative, I'm not going to share it with everybody out loud. I will just take this for internal purposes to help this presentation make it even better for you guys, and also answer any questions that you might have. So love to hear it. Thank you. Anyone else? And you can come off mute if you'd like to come off mute and share. You can use the chat. I translate pre-made like the slides given for our Curipod. Yes, Ivana, now we just updated the when you upload presentations, it can translate it now. Before, no, but we just updated that like 2 weeks ago. Play around with it. If you notice that anything's wonky or it's not working well, please reach out to us in our support, or write me an email, Danielle@curipod.com. And I'm always happy to hear feedback on that. If something isn't working quite right, we are constantly growing our platform and making it as best as possible to make sure that we are helping every single teacher and making sure that we can support you guys in any type of classroom. So if you notice that something's not working for you or you need something different, please let us know. This is a teacher-driven tool. Our teachers are the most important people to us and inform how Curipod is built out. We're teacher obsessed. We want to hear your voice. We want to help you guys. So always feel free to reach out to us and let us know your experiences. I'm so grateful that you guys joined me today. I hope this was useful and that you guys found some value in it, and can't wait to hear about your experiences this year. And hopefully this alleviates a little bit of time that you're spending on lesson preparation with your students. All right. About 3 more minutes. So I'm just going to hang out here. I want to make sure I'm here in case you do have any other questions. Thanks, Maria. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks. I'm glad you came off mute. I always feel odd when I can't see you guys or hear you. Oh, yes. Don't forget to join the Lunch and Learn. I heard it's going to be really great. So don't forget to join in there. All righty. Well, thanks so much. If you guys need anything, always reach out to my email address. Thanks.